Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Welcome to this new video. This is Siavash, your host from Az-Zamman Airlines, signing in to talk about a new video that we want to work on today. Before we start today's video, I want to give you a few disclaimers if you are not very familiar with this series. So I want to make sure that you make a very judgmental decision before watching the rest of this video. This video is about Danganronpa 2. It will have spoilers from Danganronpa 1, Danganronpa 2, and Danganronpa V3. It will also have spoilers including Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls. It will have this spoilers maybe from the Danganronpa animes 1 and 3, and even 3 within the path that Danganronpa 3 anime goes into. So I want to make sure that if you haven't watched those, please take a second and rethink if you want to watch this video, because if you don't want to have any spoilers, I will spoil some of the plot points for that game for this video. Also, if you're looking at the comments, you're going to get the same thing, so please also do not look at the comments and just rethink if you want to watch this video. You have until the end of disclaimers to think about that. 2. This is an opinion-based video. I'm going to share my opinion. I'm going to share other people's opinion. So please, let's be respectful in the comments. I try to be known to my biases about the characters. I'm going to mention them. But please, let's passionately talk about our differences, but do not destroy someone else by insults and bringing family or just being disrespectful in general. Other than that, there are going to be 2 characters when you go into Danganronpa Excel sheet and the data that I'm going to exclude from this prediction for Danganronpa 2x2. I will explain that situation later on, but because of their lower significant impact, I do not think they should be mentioned. And there are going to be 2 or several characters that will be essential in Danganronpa 2. With that, again, I'm going to remind you, this is your final warning that this video is going to spoil most of the actual series Danganronpa games 1, 2, and 3. Is going to probably spoil Ultra Despair Girls, especially major plot points. It may or may not cover minor or major plot points from Danganronpa 1 and 3 anime. So please be wary of these spoilers that will come ahead. I'll give you another 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And with that, we're going to start the video. Back 3 months ago, we had an announcement from Spike and Nintendo of America, or Nintendo of Japan, that there's a new game of Danganronpa coming into the market. Danganronpa 2x2. And this is having the original game, Danganronpa 2, an additional game that happens differently because of the event that happens in a prologue. They'll have different culprits and different victims. You obviously know, even though that's the selling market, there are going to be several culprits that will be repeating again in this game. Several victims will be the same victims. There are going to be like some very major shifts within the game, but that is not going to be affecting all around the board. With that, let's go ahead and look at some of the stuff that you're seeing. We have the teaser from Spike we have the teaser from Nintendo of America. The only footage that we have seen so far, and I might be mistaken that we have more, but we have this image that has something in the background is brighting, and we have Nagito and Hajime looking around that general vicinity. You have to see what that is, but that is a very cool looking setting brand that we can see. Among that, we have several influencers, social media, YouTubers that jumped ahead and started making predictions based off that. We have Nitpick over here about his predictions. It's like 10 minutes video. We have some people like Weeby Newz, which is a very important person and very huge influencer. Shout out to her. Please definitely make sure that some of these influencers that we have, some of these Danganronpa 2 experts, get some love and subscription. Special Weeby Newz, SHSL Plays, and some of other these Danganronpa YouTubers. I have Pixel partners here as well. Mention of all of those things that we just talked about the predictions, let's go ahead and look at our sheet now and see what it's going to have based on that. Quick note, even though I searched a lot, I could not find any polls from the Japanese perspective that there's any unfavorability of a character. You can still use the favorability tool to come up with an idea, but I don't think it's a good tool to come up with it. Looking at these data, we're going to check a few points to make your prediction. One, how much favorable that character is to the Japanese, and the Western audience. How much favorability they have, their ranking, where they currently are placed within the Danganronpa community, whether they're first place or second place or towards the end. Then we're going to look at their status from the last game. That's where the major plot spoilers come in from Danganronpa 2. You're going to see if the character died within the last game, if the character survived, and how's that impacting their chances. We're going to look at the different couple of polls that came in about ranking and their prediction. We have some polls that come from the predictions on the Danganronpa 2x2. They're going to be a little bit old, but we're going to take a look at them. And then a couple of categories that I think people should think about before we get to this game, such as physical attribution, their views on the Danganronpa game, and how it's going to be effective. So we're going to do all those stuff. We're going to assign points and think a little bit deep dive on how they're going to be selective and give them a new and final projection as of now, how it's going to look like. I obviously have not looked at the demo yet. It might be a different story when looking at the demo, and I want to make sure that this is just without blindly going to the memo and figure out based on polling and people's ideas how it's going to go. Characters that you see on the left side are ranked based on their favorability in Japan, based on their ranking in Japan. Which basically means that yes, Japanese viewed Shoki as the favorite and Nekomaru as the least favorite among the characters, which is very interesting point to look at based on the West and the Japanese ideas. Let's first take a look at the favorability of the Japanese audience with the Danganronpa 2 characters. And as I mentioned to you in disclaimers, there's two characters I'm excluding in this poll, Monokuma and Monomi. Depending on how the Danganronpa 2x2 new universe goes, I don't believe that necessarily changes anything within their character and their background, so there's nothing we can really be sure about it. Most likely Monokuma is going to be controlling the game again, but in different settings, or it could be a plot twist that we now have Monomi doing it. We never know, and I don't think their prediction on how they are favorable and they could die really matters in Danganronpa 2x2. We only worry about the characters that we know is going to be the same. I'm also excluding the future Foundation members who joined at the end of Danganronpa 2 because the game could be different and there's a lot of factors to worry about. Makoto, Kyoko, and Byakuya that we do not know anything about. And they really came towards the end of Danganronpa 2. I don't think there's really necessarily a good foundation to talk about them here. Now based on that, we look at the Japanese favorability rating. Shoki is the most favored with 15.4%, following up by a very close match against Nagito, who is sitting at 14.96%. And these characters are following up being ahead of someone like Ibuki, who's sitting at 9.51%. You look at the bottom of the table, it seems to be generic, but Japanese is 1.72% Teru, 1.44% Akane, 1.07% Nekomaru. There's not really that much of a difference between their male and female population. You can already see that Japanese look at it a bit differently. You have Akane and Nekomaru towards the end, and Teru seems a little bit more favorable among the characters. Also looking at their unfavorability in Japan, we don't have any data. The source for this, which is going to be on description and the pinned comment, as well as the sheet, is going to be this old poll coming out of Japan, and it has a very good sample size. It has about 1,600, 1,700 people voting on the favorability and how much they look at each character biasly. We have Chiaki in a very solid lead, but narrow at 2,542. You have Nagida at 2,477, and a very clear difference between Nagito and Ibuki, who's sitting as 1,575 votes. And you're also looking at the other characters in the bottom who are no longer 5 digits, 4 digits. Look at Teruteru at about 284 votes. You look at Akane, who's 200 votes, but I cannot clearly see the other numbers that she has. And you have Nekomaru, who's 171 votes. He's the only character between all the characters in Danganronpa 2 who has the under 200 votes to his name, about 1,700 people voting in Japan. That's our source they're coming in. There's going to be a link to this Reddit poll that shows this old poll from Japan, so you will have access to look at this poll more focusedly, for sure. Also, looking at the Japanese, we're going to look at the Western side. We see that actually by a very slim margin, Gundam is the most favored in the West. It's not Chiaki. It seems to be Gundam, and he's sitting at 8.2%. Although he's followed up by Chiaki, who is sitting at 8.07%. So she's a little bit slim margin, just like how Nagito is under her in Japan. You're also looking at the third place in the West, which is going to be Hajime, who is sitting at 7.94%. And you're also looking at the least favorite character, which is actually a little bit changing in the Western side. You have Akane sitting at 5.03%. You have Hiyoko sitting at 4.49%, which is very interesting because she's the fourth character favorite in Japan at 9.13%. But she doesn't seem to be favorable in the Western audience. Also, the least favorite character in the West is going to be Teruteru, who's sitting at 4.07%. The West also has an unfavorability rating, which is very great. You can look at how unfavorable they are compared to other characters. You can see the most characters that get 0 are Gundam, Ibuki, Hajime, and Fuyuhiko. They don't have any unfavorable rating, which we don't know because this is the poll that no longer exists, and I couldn't figure out why it did not show up. The poll was deleted, and unfortunately I don't have the source anymore. I will put the link, but you're probably not going to get that link open up, but that's where we got it from, and it was these characters at 0% unfavorability. You even see Nagito and Chiaki have 5.9%, which is very interesting that they're unfavorable that much. But you see a very huge numbers that Hiyoko is 32.7% unfavorable and Teruteru is 34.6% unfavorable. So the net favorability in the West looks like Gundam still in the lead at 8.2%, followed up by Hajime at 7.94% and Fuyuhiko at 7.9%. The unfavorable characters, as you can see here, are going to be again Akane at 1.13%. You're also looking at Hiyoko at negative 28.2%, and then Teruteru at negative 30.5%. Very interesting numbers there. Now we look at the ranking. And unfortunately with the ranking, I also lost the website, because the same website I'm looking at that I'm losing, I think it was it. Actually, I think I did not lose that link for... Yes, okay, I have the poll for the unfavorability of the characters in the West. I'm going to show you is in Tumblr that they did the poll. That was in the Western audience. You see over here that we have 9.2% here on favorability contest. You can look at here on unfavorability characters that is going to come up here. You see that Territorio is 34.6%, and you can see over here that Chiaki and Nagito share a 5.9% unfavorability. Interesting stuff. This, you will be having access to this poll as well. The link in the poll I'm losing is the Japanese ranking, which I really hate that I'm not having that link ready. Well, what interesting thing they did, they had the mixed up ranking from both audiences, and then you have the male audience and the female audience in Japan, how they rank Danganronpa 2 characters. You see Chiaki across the board between Japan and the West is the first place. The only group that doesn't give her a first place is the Japanese female. But again, she's a top contender, and she's at third place in the Japanese female audience. You're looking at Nagito, who is actually also very strong across the board. He is number 1 in Japanese female audience. He's 4th place in Japanese male audience, and he comes at 2nd in the Japanese entire audience. The reason he's number 8 in the Western audience ranking is because I couldn't find a poll within the Western audience, and I had to rely on a couple of tier lists that were submitted to a tier maker. But unfortunately, the issue with that is bias in it. And the second thing is some of the tier lists that make into that combined tier list are actually not ranking and are predictions, which is very making this ranking list shaky. The unfortunate thing is I don't have the link to the tier list, and I don't have the available link for the Japanese ranking. So you probably have to believe my words, but I make sure to get those links ready and put them in the description and the pinned comment for you. Okay, and we're looking at the least favorable. We see that Teruteru is literally consistent, very bottom on the table. He's 14 across the Japanese audience, 14 in overall, 14 in male audience, 14 in female audience. You also look at that he's at 16th in the Western audience, so he's not really looking at a favorable character in either audiences. But we can look at the first places. Chiaki is first about the Japanese men, then second is going to be Mikon, third is going to be Ibuki, and then 4th place is going to be Nagito. So Nagito is actually the most favored man between the Japanese male audience. You look at the female side, Nagito is first, then is Gundam, then is Chiaki, and then you have 4th place Hajime. So it's among the men, and then Chiaki is kind of squished up between these points. Very interesting. There's some of the different inconsistent data as you can look at it. For example, the Western audience is very mixed up, and again, that's very subjective polling, that he's 8th place in the Western audience, but he's very favorable in the Japanese audience. You're also looking at characters like Sonia. Sonia very consistently among Western polls. She's 4th place, but she's not that favorable in Japanese audience. She's 11th in overall, 9th among the Japanese male, again 11th place in the Japanese female. You also can take a look at this and see a very huge difference in someone such as Mikon. Mikon is like 6th place in Japan, 2nd amongst the men. She's 8th place in Japanese female audience, but she's towards the bottom of the table, about 12th place in the Western data. Very interesting inconsistencies that you see there. We have also a poll that someone conducted among 50 or 70 Danganronpa enthusiasts and got several prediction ratings that the fans have. People such as Sonia and other survivors get like a very huge amount of death rates compared to people who didn't survive the last time, like Peko, who got 77. This is also coming from a Reddit poll, which could be subjective. You will have the link to this to look at the entire data, but it shows it was among 79 voters that voted about the fate of the characters as a prediction. And you have some data about that. You have Hajime's 61% survivor, Hiko at 77%, and you also have someone like Mahiru who has 56%. You have people who are put very low in amount of survivability chance, like Sonya at 78%, Teruteru at 80%, and you have Chiaki at 71%. This pool is also very good because it analyzes who will be the likely first victim among the Danganronpa 2 contest, which is characters are cast, and you can see that Chiaki is winning by a lot against Nagito. This poll also analyzes who will be the victim again, so it's looking at to see how people think about the victim chances of Danganronpa 2 characters that will be likely again put in the same fate. You also, and we see Nekomaru winning that. We also saying that in the culprit again, you see that people who were killers in the last Danganronpa 2 game now are putting against each other to see how many percentages they're gonna get. And we see Mikon is winning that poll by a lot of margins. Like the second person is Peko, but she's like even way over than Mikon is. Looking at these data, and also looking at these favorability, you can see over here too that people really don't seem to be liking some of these characters that we talk about, like Teruteru, Mikon, and some of these other characters. But we see Sonya, Fuyuhiko, Ibuki, and Chiaki really going across the board and being the favorite characters and casts in the making. We're also looking at the status. We know some of the characters die in Chapter 1, like Teruteru, the ultimate imposter. Going to the mid game, we talk about Mikon being a killer and having 2 victims in case, Hiyoko and Ibuki. And at the end we have a very narcissist plan by Nagito, who he literally plans his own murder, dies as the victim, and Chiaki becomes the culprit or the blackened in that case, which was the Chapter 5 ending. You're looking at also some of the attitudes they have, and that's why I have some skepticism about the polling. Someone like Mikon, I don't think she's gonna survive because of some of the characters that she has unless those are changed within the new universe, because she's emotionally unstable. I don't think she's great enough, and she's really be able to easily sway. We literally saw how the despair disease did to her at Danganronpa 2. I don't think Mikon is really that strong of a character to survive the game. Some people, like even Hiyoko, that people think that if she's gonna survive, she couldn't even tie her kimono, guys. And one is like, well, that's very subjective about her. The only issue with her is she's really close-minded, based on what we saw in the game, unless again she changes that attitude. Vulgar, disrespectful, we saw Kokichi didn't get anywhere. You could say someone like Fuyuhiko gets somewhere, which, yes, that's technically true, but Fuyuhiko goes through a transition from Chapter 2. I think if Hiyoko goes through that transition, she could get that survivability rating. We're looking at physical capabilities. I have a matrix setting up in this that if a character is able to get those points, like they have a very slim chance to have a positive or negative impact. They have a 2 points added or subtracted. If they have a little bit more than just coin flip, they're gonna get a 5. That's if they're lean on any of those to actually get points or lose points about it. 10 is pretty much a likely, is very likely they're gonna get it, and it's going to be with something that definitely is gonna happen to them. They get 10 or 15 based on how a little bit my thinking works and how I review these polling. And then literally 20 and 35 or 25 is that I have a safe assumption that these characters are going to get a lot of points because of what they have. Like Peko, I give her 25 because of the physical capabilities. We see what she has about the sword and all the stuff and how strong she is, especially how she committed the murder in Danganronpa 2. But the issue with her is the environment and the roadblocks, because we saw how she viewed herself as a tool in Danganronpa 2. I don't think if she has the same mentality, it's going to help her out. You also have some other characteristics that you see, twist plans, roadblocks, environment, and this is where the favorability rating comes in. Characters like Chiaki, Nagito, Gundam, because they're favored amongst the fans, they might not get that long of a story to survive. Because we know how writers, especially been a writer before myself, we like to kill the favorite character in the audience to actually get them emotional in the game or stories. Be ready for that in this game. All of those is going to be added, and it's going to be a net change difference to the polling that we see, and that's going to decide how likely or unlikely these characters will survive. We have Chiaki, she has a safe prediction. I think she is very high percentages that she's going to die, unless the developers decide that she's going to be the main character, she's going to be the protagonist, then we might see a chance for her to survive. Otherwise, especially since we know the background coming to Danganronpa 1 is going to be still applicable in this game, and this is thanks to Weeby Newz. I will put a video of her that is analyzing Kodaka's interview, and if I can find the link for Kodaka interview, I'll also put that there, that he talks about that yes, all the background to Danganronpa 2 is going to be selected to be the background for this universe. We know Chiyoki is going to be an AI. She's not going to be a surviving character, and this is a kind of a spoiler that we get in Danganronpa 2, and we also see it in Danganronpa 3 anime, that Chiyoki is not a alive person. She's deceased by the time we come to this game. So an AI of hers placed in this game. And based on that, I think unless there's a very different story about Chiaki, we are not going to see her survive in this game. And I think she has a safe protection. Death is likely she's going to be a victim because of how they placed her in the last game. And we also know that Chiaki didn't even plan that murder. It was all made by Nagito. Nagito gets a lean death, but is highly expected that he may survive because how narcissist he is, and he could pull a Kokichi in this game. So, and if you don't know, Kokichi is from the V3 game, so he could literally pull that out and survive the game. But I think with the mentality that he had, and the way, if he's gonna act the same thing again, unless we have him as a main protagonist, I don't think he's gonna survive the game either this time. He's a lean death because he has a 67% chance compared to Chiaki, who has a 95%. He has a 43% chance to actually survive, so that's why we have a lean death and a tilt black end, because he has a 43% chance of being the culprit. Ibuki is going to be probably a Gundam is going to be a lean survivor because of the mentality that he has, the brave that he has, and the physical capabilities. I think Gundam may have a chance this game to survive, so he's a lean survivor to me. And I think that's very interesting, and I think that's actually very likely that he's going to survive because of what he had, and especially because of his last game statting. You also have Ibuki, which I think she's going to die. She didn't have a lot of character development. I think the environment is against her because we don't really get a lot from Ibuki. Unless the game changes itself, we might get a different Ibuki. Maybe she's not cheerful. She could actually, there's a very high chance that she's going to be culprit instead of surviving. But there's still a chance that she could survive the game either. But she's not really my projected survivor at this point. I think she's going to die, and she's going to die as a class trial execution. Hajime is going to be a lean survivor. Is really with Hajime is going to be a coin flip. Because we know, I don't think the Spike Chunsoft is going to give us the same protagonist. Hajime was the protagonist, and if anything is true, he was the leader of Ultimate Despair. So it's likely that he might get it, but the issue is Hajime could mess up, and there is a chance that he's going to die, whether as a victim or a culprit, which right now is projected that he's going to be the victim. But I think he might have that slim chance because he was a survivor from the last game, and I think Lily Luck Defense, he's probably the most likely previous game survivor that will survive again. Same thing here with Mika. I think Mikan is a safe death. Whatever people think about that Mikan may survive, or she's gonna go down as a victim, I don't believe that. She could be again swayed by Nagi or something. I think the chances of her being the victim is a coin flip, but no, it's guaranteed she's gonna die because the way she is acting in Danganronpa 2, I think there's literally no chance for her to survive unless we have a change of character, change of behavior, have a very 180 degrees turn of twist. That could be the only reason that she's gonna survive, and she already get positive points in terms of plot twist. So don't worry about that. Kazuichi is the same thing. I think Kazuichi and Sonya are the most vulnerable of the survivors going forward in this game. Kazuichi could be very easily swayed by Sonya. I can see a situation, and Sonya is also a safe death to me. I can see a scenario that Sonya tricks Kazuichi to make him murder someone and then blame it all on him and make him literally sell him out in the class trial, how Kokichi did with Gonta. I can see that situation happen between Sonya and Kazuichi. Or Sonya actually tricks Kazuichi, Kazuichi kills someone, and then Sonya kills Kazuichi in the process. That's very likely to happen as well. I just give him a coin flip because I don't know what Sonya is going to do, because I think she's really going to be an interesting culprit. I already gave her a safe death as well. I think she's going to also die, and it's very more likely that she's going to be a culprit. She could also be a victim if Kazuichi starts fighting with someone who is in love with Sonya, and in the process Sonya is killed, which could be the same scenario, or Kazuichi gets rejected by Sonya and then kills Sonya in the process. That could really happen, so that's another situation that we have there. I think Sonya is definitely very chance that she's going to be a culprit, but I'm holding off from a safe because I think she might have a chance to be a victim as well. In this case, we have Fuyuhiko, who's also vulnerable. I think is likely because Fuyuhiko had a lot of change, and if he had that personality like the latter part of the game, he may be able to survive because he's different from Peko. So if he doesn't have the same personality and a behavior, he might die, but there's a chance for him to survive too. That's why I give him a likely chance of dying with a coin flip chance of being a victim. I don't really see Fuyuhiko, unless his temperance get well over him, he could be a culprit. You also have Hyoka and Mahiru. I think that's very early to call that they're going to survive, because I think Mahiru and Hyoka have this insecurity within themselves that is going to reduce their chances, and I think it's a really coin flip. Because Mahiru, I can see her as a natural leader. I'm also thinking that if Chiaki, Nagito, and Hajime are not selected as the main protagonist, Mahiru could be the fourth or the very silent shadow protagonist in this game. So she could have a chance, but I just give a coin flip chance at this point. I'm not really sure. Mahiru could be someone that also gets a bit of temperance like Fuyuhiko. I don't really see her right now surviving, but she has a chance. Hyoka, the same thing. People think Hyoka might survive, but my issue with Hyoka is he has the same issue as Fuyuhiko or Kokichi. I think even worse. Kind of a Miu of the Danganronpa 2. I don't think Hyoka is going to survive it. I'm very honest with you guys. It's a very coin flip situation that if she changes and she gets a little bit look like the chapter 3 Hyuko, you might see her survive. You also have Peko. I think Peko is lucky to survive because of her agility, because of her physical attributes. She could survive, but the issue with Peko is how she views herself. If she starts viewing herself like the Danganronpa 2 game, yeah, goodbye. Even though she has a likely situation, again, I just don't see it. I don't see it as a safe survival. I think she has a likely chance, but is not strong enough to make a projection that she's going to definitely survive Danganronpa 2 by 2. The ultimate imposter, again, is a coin flip. He's a very natural leader. I'm leaning towards the lean because people like him and Mahiru, or even Shaki, who decide to sacrifice themselves, are more vulnerable and about other people who want to take advantage, killing them. Ultimate Imposter is another example too, and with him having different personality, there's a lot good can happen in Ultimate Imposter. That's why I give him a lean, but this situation could be a coin flip. Don't mistake me on that one. Territor is definitely gonna go. He's another Mekon. I just don't see Territory making that either, guys. I'm literally sorry. And again, he literally got swayed in Danganronpa 2 Chapter 1 by Nagito that someone's gonna kill. And one of the main reasons Territory killed Ultimate Imposter, he said, oh, I'm trying to stop Nagito, and he literally was bought and was hypnotized that Nagito is gonna kill someone. See, that's what Territory happens to him. I think Territory is gonna die also. Maybe a victim this time, or could, again, we can have a situation like Sonya or Nagito tricking him to kill someone. And I can also really see him being a pervert, gets in a fight with Kazuichi, and that's what's gonna trigger that kind of a case situation. Akane and Nekomaru, I don't think they're gonna survive either. Akane survived the last game, so that's gonna play against her in this next game. Nekomaru, similar issue. And I think it's a coin flip even, because it could be either or, just like Gundam. The only issue with Nekomaru is, I think he's much more coming as a vulnerable person, and since he's not also favorable to the views of the Japanese audience, I don't know how likely they're gonna let him survive. But I think if Akane dies in this game, there's a good chance that Nekomaru might make it as one of the survivors in this game. I even have it. Some of the several projections I have is Nagito, Hiyoko, and Mahiru, and then Akane and Nekomaru. I think these guys are probably going to be a likely survivor. You just don't know yet. And I think there's so much avenues and factors that can play against them. Please let me know what you think about this, and I hope you like this video. All the links will be available to you, and I hope to see your thoughts in the comments. Please definitely let me know, and this is your host, Yalash, signing off.